It really doesn't matter whether you are a new subscriber to Gamepass or if you are a longtime fan of the service. Gamepass offers more than 500 games for gamers to discover, and obviously one is tempted to play the big AAA blockbusters that are in Gamepass. But the beauty of it is that there are also a lot of AA or indie games in the subscription service for everyone to discover. And in this video I'm going to give you some recommendations of those hidden gems that are definitely worth checking out. Hello gamers from around the world, this is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, with a video on some secret recommendations in Game Pass, and subscribers of this channel know that I have done these videos before because that's the beauty of Game Pass. Each and every month they add new games to the service and we get to check out new games that we normally probably wouldn't buy. So I'm doing these recommendations every time I have a bunch of discoveries that I would like to share with you, so if you don't want to miss out on future content, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Okay, thank you guys so much for the support, and now let's start with my first recommendation, and that is Death's Door. The game is developed by Acid Nerve and published by Devolver Digital, and it is one of the best indie games I have played to date. The game is often described as Zelda meets Dark Souls, although I think the Dark Souls aspect isn't fully representing what Death's Door is. It most certainly reminds of Zelda, but with a higher difficulty, but the game is never unfair to you and feels just so rewarding while playing. The level design is exceptional, with smaller riddles to solve and a huge diversity in its environments and enemies. And speaking of enemies, the combat starts really simple, but it becomes more diverse while the game progresses, and it definitely is satisfying and rewarding. And yes, there is a story told in that game, and actually it isn't too bad, but the star of this game is definitely the diverse and challenging boss fights. They definitely bring something unique to the game, and the controls are just on point, and that is so important in these kind of games that try to present a challenge to the player. They definitely nailed the controls and the core gameplay mechanics, so I definitely recommend this game because I have not seen anyone say anything bad about this game who has actually played it, and that is very rare these days. The next hidden gem I want to recommend is Chorus, developed by Fish Labs and published by Deep Silver. Chorus was recently added to Game Pass and definitely surprised me. This is a space combat open world space RPG, and boy is it good. Honestly, I didn't expect that game to be on that kind of level that it is. Yes, it is an open world game with side quests for you to discover in different open areas. You gain XP to customize your ship and character. You can buy or upgrade different kind of weapons, shields, boosters, etc. Typical RPG. But don't expect any kind of grind or something like that. Chorus tells a story that is impactful, has some twists to it, and the pacing of the game is fantastic. The moment-to-moment combat is incredible. You simply can pick up side quests while you are flying towards your next main mission, or you can really just clean up the map as you expected, but it is all optional and nothing feels grindy or stretched out. The biggest selling point for Chorus is the actual core gameplay mechanic and the handling and gunplay of the ship. When I started the game, it took me a while to get used to maneuvering my spaceship. They have this certain drift mechanic in that game where you can drift your ship through space, and once you get the hang of how to use that properly, you feel like a true badass, and it is unbelievably fun and rewarding to engage in space combat. And the cherry on top is a really cool weapon system where you have like basically 3 main weapons for different situations and different kinds of shields of the enemies, so the game always keeps you on your toes and encourages you to try out different maneuvers and fighting styles in space, and all that is wrapped in a beautiful presentation. The graphics look just so clean. There is no filmic effects like film grain or chromatic aberration and all that nonsense that I usually turn off, so you can pause this video right here, start downloading the game, and then continue with the next recommendation, because there's more greatness coming, and that continues with Weird West from Wolf Eye Studios and published by Annapurna. And that game carries the name for a good reason. It is a weird RPG set in the Wild West, and I mean weird in the most positive way. With Weird West, the studio Wolf has achieved something incredible. You know, when other RPGs always tell you like you can play this game in a way how you want to play it, and then the game is actually designed to be played in a certain way. And Weird West isn't that game. This game definitely lets you play how you want to play. Even 20 hours into the game you will discover new things you can do in that game in order to continue. But let me explain. It is played from an isometric perspective, and it offers all the typical things that RPGs offer, like finding loot, getting XP to upgrade your character, unlock certain abilities, to customize your playstyle, etc. And it is of course story driven. Now when you start playing a certain mission, you are basically thrown in there, and there are tons of ways how you can approach a certain situation. There's always the option to go in guns blazing, but there's also like a lot of stealth options. Sneak up onto your enemies and kill them, sneak past them and throw a lantern into a puddle of oil and burn them. Or you can make the enemies aware of you and they follow you into a house, then lock the house up and burn it to the ground. The game is so full of options in how to approach a certain situation, and that is really unprecedented, and I highly recommend to give this game a chance. Okay, the next one I want to recommend here is Eiyuden Chronicles Rising. This is a Japanese RPG that is designed as a side-scroller. This game was a true surprise because it took me a little to get into it actually. Just like most Japanese games, it is of course heavy on conversations, especially in the beginning of the game, and you will have long conversations, and I get that people can be turned off by that. But it is definitely worth sticking with it because a little into the game you will learn a lot of different combat mechanics. You will unlock different characters as your companions, and the combat system really changes because you start to be able to link attacks together from your characters. So the combat system is really good, and the game offers all the typical things of an RPG, like you will find resources which you can use to upgrade your characters, your equipment, etc, etc. The map seems super small at the beginning, but it opens up and you will discover a ton of diverse environments, different enemies, you will have smaller and bigger bosses to fight, and you will get that feeling of reward when doing a side quest. I really didn't expect to enjoy the game this much, but when I finished it, I felt kind of empty, and that just tells you that the game has something to it, so I definitely recommend this game to everyone who wants to play a light-hearted JRPG. Okay, the next recommendation is Trek to Yomi. This is a 2.5D side-scroller / hack and slash game set in feudal Japan. I think the first impression when you see that game is the unique art style. The game is completely presented in black and white and definitely reminds of some very old school Japanese movies. The entire game is synced in Japanese and you get subtitles in your respective language. And I think that is something very unique because the developer Flying Wild Hog really wanted to present a believable and immersive Japanese atmosphere, and they succeeded very well. The combat system is super complex. It allows for dozens of different combinations, but I found myself using the same 4 or 5 combos all over again, which sounds repetitive, but it was kind of satisfying. I also want to know that this is an indie game and it was developed by a super small team, so it really isn't without flaws. Sometimes it can happen that the combat feels a little off, but if you can see past that, there is something very special about this game, and it is very satisfying to beat even the harder levels at the end of the game, and it is just a unique and wonderful, beautiful experience. So definitely a recommendation from my side. And the next game I want to mention is Tunic. This is also an indie game that was for a long time in development. It is centered around a little fox, and it is definitely reminding me of Zelda games, but there is way less hand-holding. The game is really centered around discovery, so exploring the map is essential in this game. It will not only reward you with good loot to upgrade abilities and stats, but it will also reward you with different ways in how to progress in the world. It can be a tough game at times, but it's never unfair, and that is very important in these kind of challenging games. And once you figured out how to read the world, you will easily navigate through the gigantic maps that this game offers. The game also has a very fitting soundtrack, from calming music while you stroll through the hub world to dark pumping beats in certain dungeons. You have more or less everything. It's definitely a recommendation from my side, and I do hope you will like it too. But let's move on to the next one, and that is actually a little bit an older game, released in 2016, and it is called Firewatch. It really doesn't matter that the game is almost 6 years old, it is really good. I would describe this as a walking simulator. Literally, all you do is walk through forests, hills and mountains, but it is everything else but boring. This is of course a very story-driven game, and let me tell you, if you start that game, sit down, the first 10 minutes will hit you really hard. Some very emotional storytelling, some fantastic writing, and the ending is definitely worth a discussion, and if you want to do that, definitely hit me up on Twitter to discuss it because it will stick with you. And the next game I want to mention here is a game that probably some wouldn't consider a hidden gem, but outside of the hardcore gaming community, it probably actually is a secret recommendation, and that is the recently added Turtle Shredder's Revenge. This is a complete nostalgic throwback to the old days where we played these games either in the arcades, or for me it was mostly on the Super Nintendo, and it is just pure fun. It's fun if you play it solo, it's complete chaos if you play it with friends, but it really is super addictive, and usually these kind of games are are hard games, but this one is actually more for the casual gamers as well, because if you don't set the game to ultra hard, it is a definitely fair game to play. The music is fantastic, it really puts you back in the arcades, the controls are on point, and once you figure out how to do the crazy combos, you really feel like a badass ninja turtle. And make sure to let me know in the comment section down below which is the turtle of your choice. And with that, I already want to come to an end of this video. Yes, there are even more secret recommendations, aka hidden gems in Game Pass, and that's why I do these kind of videos on a regular basis. I will link down below the previous ones. Most of those games are still on Game Pass, so if you need even more recommendations, I definitely recommend for you to check those out as well. And of course, I want to know in the comment section down below, what are your recommendations of games in Game Pass? Game Pass really is the gift that keeps on giving, and each and every month they add dozens of new games from all kinds of genres, and that's why if you enjoyed this video, definitely make sure to hit the like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell to not miss out on future content, because I will do on a regular basis not just the recommendations for hidden gems, but also videos on the best AAA experiences in Game Pass. And now I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who watched and liked this video and stuck till the end, but also a big thank you goes out to everyone who supports this channel with channel memberships to get early access to all my videos, with the super thanks in the comment sections, and of course the super chats, and simply being there at the weekly gaming show that I have here on my channel. Besides here on YouTube, you can also hit me up on Twitter, where I share a lot of opinions and gaming discussions. But for now, thank you very much for watching, I see you the next time, and game on!